Okay, so good morning. So we will continue with the discussion on nonlinear regression. So I will teach you the Gauss-Newton algorithm, which is a very powerful and potent technique to handle nonlinear regression. Yesterday we saw an example, namely the heating of a first order system, okay, where there is a constant heat generation of Q watts, and then there is a convection afforded by a convection heat transfer coefficient of H watts per meter square Kelvin and area A. Then we found out the governing equation is mCp dt by d tau is q minus HA delta T and so on, and then there are three regimes: the heating portion of the curve, the steady state and the cooling. And finally the resulting equation, the resulting solution was of the form theta is equal to theta s into 1 minus e to the power of minus t by tau, where theta s is the steady state temperature excess and theta is the temperature excess and tau is the time constant. So regardless of your mathematical manipulation, it is impossible for you to reduce it to a form where you can apply linear least square. Therefore you have no other choice but to go for nonlinear regression. So the general form is, suppose you have a general form example. This cannot be reduced to a linear form in spite of all possible manipulations. Therefore we take recourse to nonlinear regression. Okay, so that is the idea. Now how do we write this? So this can be written as y is equal to f of xi, f of xi yi is f of xi given a comma b plus what does it mean? If I happen to get a function f of xi, okay, which has got, for which the parameters a b are known, okay, if you insert the values of a b and you substitute the value of xi for that, I will get a value of f of xi for that. But that value of f of xi need not agree with the y data, because after all the f of xi is a form which I am fitting, okay. So the difference between the y of I minus f of xi with the best values of a and b will result in some error which is called E of I. So this is the residue, right. So this is the residue, so this is the fit, this is the data. So I will simply call it with the understanding that the f has got the parameters a b. Now let us say it need not be of the form only this, it can be any nonlinear form with two parameters a and b, right. So for a general two parameter problem where linear regression will not hold, we are proposing this. Now how do you go about doing this nonlinear regression? you have to assume a value of a and b, and then you have to expand this f of xi from the jth iteration to the j plus 1th iteration using a Taylor series, okay, and then you truncate the Taylor series after a certain number of terms, and then find out the difference yi minus ei, and find out the difference yi minus ei for all the data points. Then in a least square sense try to minimize this difference. Now you will get new values of a and b. Compare the old values of a and b with the new values of a and b. That alone will not do. With the old values of a and b, find out what are the values of y you are getting. Then y data minus y fit for each of the I values, square each of the values, sum it up. So you will get the S or the sigma of r squared. Now at iteration 0 for assumed values of a and b, you have a value of S1 or S0, that is sigma r squared, that is the sum of the residues. Now going through this procedure, you will get a new value of a nu b nu. With this a nu b nu, you will get the new values of y fit. Find out the y fit minus y data whole square and see how the S, that is the sigma r squared, is going down with iteration. After it has reached a sufficiently small value, you can take a call and say that this is enough, okay. So basically the key is we are still using linear least squares, which means we have to approximate the nonlinear form by an appropriate linear form. That means we expand it as a Taylor series in the neighborhood of AB. What is at AB? That is A naught B naught, that is the initial values of AB, and then truncate with first order terms and then use a least square minimization. When doing the least square minimization, since many points are involved, it will be advantageous for us to use the matrix algebra. That is why I introduced the matrix algebra for the least squares in the last class. Now the root is clear, the root we are going to take. Therefore now I can say f of xi j plus 1 will be equal to plus I am expanding the vicinity of A and B. Can you tell me? Dou f into
delta I.
Correct, plus so when you try to regress by starting this approach, wherein you take f of xi j plus 1 is equal to f of xi j plus this and truncate with the first order terms, you are using a Taylor series to linearize the nonlinear form. So this is called the Gauss-Newton method. GNA, Gauss-Newton algorithm, okay. So now I can call this as 3. So here the f of xi, I can right side I can treat it as f of xi of j plus 1. I can substitute this f of xi j plus 1 on the right hand side, because I am trying to look at the residual E and I am trying to minimize the residual E, right. What is the use of this Taylor series expansion? This Taylor series expansion has to be used in this equation 2. Equation 2 and equation 1 are one and the same, except that I drop the A and B, so that we do not have notational confusion. So once you have a Taylor series, this is not a Taylor series expansion. This says that when a data is fit with an approximate function f, there will be a residue associated with it. Please remember that ultimately we want to minimize the residue. We do not want to minimize E1, E2, E3. We want to minimize the total residue, right, when there are n data points. Therefore now we substitute for f of xi from equation 3, right. y of I fine. There are some subtle things I have done, I, j plus 1, you should be able to follow that. Only j values are known when you start with, from j you are going on to j plus 1, correct. Now therefore, we can bring the f of xij here, oh this should be j, right. Fine. So D, what do you want to call that as? What is the notation we used in yesterday's class? Z, right? Z. So Z of j why am I using matrix form? There are several there are several values of yi, right, y1 to yn, where there are n data points. Are you getting the point? Now zj will be what huh?
Delta.
No, so I will call it delta capital A. Okay, so that is a small notation problem. Okay, A and B are there, of course. See, you can call it a general A itself can be made of A, B, C, D, E, F and all that. Okay, so sorry about that, just change it. So this will be B, B, right, dou F by, sorry, same, there is only F, right. Okay, F1, F2, yeah, where n so dou F1 dou F2, that F1 F2 is a notation, the number of points. Okay, so in the parlance of optimization or in the parlance of matrix algebra, if you get a matrix where there is a function f and you are taking the partial derivative with respect to the parameters a and b, and then you are denoting it for each of these points, and finally you get a matrix like this, such a matrix is called the Jacobian matrix. So Zj is called the sensitivity of the Jacobian matrix. Okay, don't get lost here, don't get lost in matrix algebra. For example, it is very straightforward. Y is equal to a into 1 minus e to the power of minus bt. For example, y is equal to a into 1 minus e to the power of minus bt. Dou f is this. Okay, so f is this. So dou f by dou a, watch carefully. Dou f by dou a is 1 minus e to the power of minus bt. Okay, so you have to start with some values of a and b. So your initial guess values of b you use. So this dou f by dou a is 1 minus e to the power of minus bt, but this can be worked out for each of the data points. If I give you a table, it can be worked out for the first point, second point, third point, right? Similarly, you can work out dou f by dou b, correct, which is a into minus b into minus e to the power of minus bt, right, a into minus t. So at e to the power of minus bt. So you can work out at e to the power of minus bt, substitute the individual values of t and you can work out this matrix. Is that fine? Yeah.
Iteration.
Huh?
Iteration for A and B.
It is iteration. You start with, see, the beauty is you cannot evaluate the Jacobian matrix unless you have the values of a and b. A and b are the things which we want to find. You cannot go to the next step unless you assume a and b. This was not the case for the linear least square. That is called the non-linearity. So you have to assume a value of a and b, work out all this and get the new values of a and b. Are you getting the point? This situation did not arise in the linear least square case. We straight away got Ea sigma xi ya minus sigma b sigma ba equal to, and you just got sigma xi ya and sigma x square and all that. This is not the case here, okay, because we are not, it is not possible for us to reduce to the straight line form. Okay. Now if d is given like this, from what I taught you in the last class, can you write the representation using linear least square? If you want to minimize the residue, how will the final result look like? Right, I already gave you a hint in the last class, linear least squares, right. So what is the D matrix? D vector. What is D?
Residue.
How do you calculate the D? This is basically called the forcing vector. Why am I calling it Zj? It is for the jth value of the iteration, because Zj is not constant, but the Z was constant for the linear least squares. That is invariant because the Z contains 0, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1 in yesterday's problem. Yes, you missed yesterday's class.
But isn't the y here the j plus 1th iteration?
Why is data, no?
The yi.
No, j plus 1th iteration we do not know the y. Huh? Y data is not associated with any iteration. Y data is given to you. Okay, y fit varies with iteration. Correct? Now applying linear least squares. Delta E.
Sir, we are finding delta A.
Yes, correct. To minimize the E. Okay. So now operating on, correct, good, that is it. So, this delta A, so you will get okay. When do you stop? Where epsilon 1 and epsilon 2 are decided by you, they can both be equal, but it could be different. Okay. There are other criteria, for example, theta minus theta fit sigma r square, how it gets minimized and so on. So, the key points in a nonlinear regression are as follows. The residual E gets absorbed here. The residual E, the sum total of residual E for all the values in a least square sense, if it has to get minimized, that is a theory of least squares. That we have seen, no, minimax this criterion that we already did so much for the least square. Even for a least square, y is equal to f of x plus ei. Which do you want to minimize? E1 or E2 or E3 or E4? That is concisely brought out by the matrix. When you do this, it is you are minimizing the least square deviation. That is why I taught the linear least squares with matrix algebra yesterday, so that you do not get confused. Okay, that EA gets merged into this because the EA is submerged in this. Are you getting the point? EA is the variation of the EA is the difference between yi minus y fit for each of the points. So, what we do is EI whole square sigma I equal to 1 to n, which what we minimize. So, if you want to minimize that, the equation is this. Since people may get a doubt, sir, how do I believe this? So, yesterday, though it was not required for this course, I taught you how to do linear least square with matrix algebra. Without that also we solved. Are you able to get the connection now? Okay, fine. Now it may look nebulous and vague, do not worry, we will solve a problem, everything will become clear, right. Now, what are the cardinal steps involved in this? Basically, the nonlinear least squares is an iterative procedure, it is not going to be easy, okay. So, in the exam maximum I will ask one iteration. If you really want to do nonlinear regression, you have to write a computer program, go to MATLAB, or you have to use a nonlinear regression tool, okay. As is the case with any nonlinear regression procedure, as is the case with any iterative technique, successful solutions, for example, if you want to get good estimates of A and B, it is critically dependent on your initial guess. If your initial guess is way off, then the solution may converge slowly, the solution may oscillate, the solution may also diverge. So, the Gauss-Newton algorithm is not a universal panacea, it is not a cure all, it cannot solve all the optimization problems, but it is a strategy which is worth trying. Suppose you go through the Gauss-Newton algorithm and you get stuck in between, there are some powerful tools which are available for you to correct, that we will see after I give the example, after we do the example, okay. The powerful algorithms are basically the steepness descent method, the Leeuwenberg-Marquardt algorithm, conjugate gradient, there are so many other techniques which are available. Okay. Please remember that we are not using the second order terms here, So there is a chance that any scheme which works only with the stops with the linear exponent, the first order terms of the Taylor series, has a chance that it can go this way, that way. Are you getting the point? So it does not mean that we have a solution which will solve, we will have an algorithm which will solve all optimization problems. If this were to be true, then simulated annealing, genetic algorithms, ant colony optimization, none of these techniques would have developed. There are so many problems where you got nonlinear regression, you have got several parameters, and the Gauss-Newton algorithm, all these algorithms will get choked. They will struggle, they will get stuck in what is called a local optimum, they cannot come out. Okay, fine. Let us solve a problem now, things should become clear. Let us take the case of heating of a first order system. So this is example number, problem number, we will keep this. Problem 19, huh? Yeah, please take down. Consider the heating of a first order system. Consider the heating of a first order system consider the heating of a first order system whose temperature excess theta is known to vary as follows. Whose temperature excess theta is known to vary as follows. I mean, vary in the form which is given on the blackboard, where A and B are constants and T is the time in seconds. Theta is in degree centigrade and T is in seconds. Using the data given below, with an initial guess of A equal to 40, using an initial guess of A equal to 40, A is equal to 40 degree centigrade and B is find 10 to the power of minus 3, second inverse, perform one iteration of the GNA, perform one iteration of the Gauss-Newton algorithm. Compare the residuals before and after the residuals before and after the iteration. Okay, compare the residuals before and after the iteration. Fine, I will give you the data now. So second quiz, one question surely on Gauss-Newton, okay. So do it carefully now. That should carry at least 20 marks out of 40 marks. Okay, I got an extra column, just leave it. Huh? Is that correct? Right. So it is very nice to start with, it is very nice. You can substitute the value of t and get the theta fit and then calculate the sigma, but that is not end of the story, that is the beginning of the story, right. You will not be in a position to fill up this column until you do the sigma xi ya, sigma x square and all this for the linear least square. Here to start with, you assume some values a and b and find out how this is. If the theta fit is excellent, then straight away you go home, but that is rarely the case. So you first evaluate this and then take dou theta by dou a, dou theta by dou b, get your Jacobian matrix, get the forcing vector, you will get still a 2 by 2 system only, because a and b you can either invert or solve the simultaneous equations. I expect you to complete this within half an hour. We have 18.4 minutes, you should be able to proceed. Start. If the residuals after iteration 1 spill over to the next class, it is alright, but at least you should be able to get a and b within 20 minutes. Let them do, you can give a break for 5 minutes, I will start filling after 5 minutes. Correct? Is that okay? Deepak, you got it? It is pretty high, so it is not the correct value of a, we have not used the correct values of a and b, which is alright. Okay, so we get a high value of the residue. Now we have to work out the Jacobian matrix. So correct? Is that okay? Okay. So fill out the values using the appropriate value of time, 10, 40, 80, 140, 200. So if you do that, you will get please correct me if I make some mistake. Alok, you are doing? You can just check for 2 or 3 values. Fine. All of you should get this. Sarur. I hope everybody has a calci. Abhinandan is fine. Okay. If the Jacobian matrix has mistakes, then the whole thing comes. It is not difficult, but it is painful, so you have to do it patiently, that is all. It is very heavy calculations are involved. unfortunately this course is like that. I mean, so now the other one. So what I will do is, already we spent so much time on this, right? Okay. So what I will do in my calculator is, I will take 0.04875, I will subtract 1, I will subtract 1, multiply it by 40 and then multiply by this. I believe it will speed up, there may be other ways for you to do that. Otherwise 1 minus e to the power of t to the e to the power of minus, I do not have to do the e to the power of minus t by 200 again, whatever. Okay. So the first value is 380. All right. I do not understand what you are saying.
It will not be incorporated in that value won't be used in
Theta minus theta fit is actually driving the whole thing.
Yeah, D.
We are minimizing that error, isn't it? But the theta minus theta fit is our approximate measure, it is a performance metric. It is only the measure, because we are taking theta minus theta fit individually and sigma of that we are trying to minimize. But what is the algorithm for that is this. This is indicative, this gives you the health of the fit. Okay. Okay, shall I erase the main one? Everybody has this, right? Now, why is it z naught? We are starting with that 0th, right? So, okay, now we have written out z transpose t z. So, this is basically a So, we will get a 2 by 2 matrix, alright. Yeah, can you tell me the values? Good, 1 point. Huh? Not 4000.
6,300.
6000?
6,300.72.
Is it? 6300 is correct?
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
30026 and 2
No, no, put as engineering and tell me.
3 into 10 power 7.
3 into 10 power 7. Yeah, okay, I got 2.5 into. All right. Yeah, I think it's good that I left one column. I can put theta minus theta fit new after we get the new values of A and B, right. Let us keep that. Okay, let us keep this. By chance, I have not erased it so far. Okay. Now we can get the values of, what about the forcing vector? So, what about the forcing vector? What did you get? Into y minus is it 37.3 or? Is it 6 by 2 or what is it? 2 by 6. Sorry, 6 by 1. So, you will get a column vector. Okay. So, what is this? Good, good, 26 point. Okay. Engineering, engineering. Okay, good. Okay, not bad. In 13 minutes, you have got all the values. Go ahead, invert it. Get delta A, delta B, delta A, delta B.
6.42 and 2.55 into 10 power minus 3.
Is it? Okay. Let's work it out. So, we got this, we got this. Shall I erase this? Please pay attention. If you go to the library, if you look at 100 books on statistics, 99 books will not have nonlinear regression. If you think you can learn it on your own, there are very few books which will give you this. Very few books which will have a worked out example and all. So, please pay attention in the class. So, these problems we have spent time to work out, and this thing get values of A and B new. I have asked my students to do one more iteration and all that. So, please pay attention. So, this is not available in most books. Okay. So, Now we can get the values of this inverse, right. So, take the determinant, exchange these two, put minus, get the inverse, cross multiply, get the values of delta A, delta B. Abhishek, you got it? No calci, yeah? Pawan, got it? You lost? Huh? I think otherwise you will, the fun is lost. Please bring your calci. Soumi, you got it? No, the other values are okay. You got the Z transpose T, Z, all those things? Venugopal, you got it? So now what is delta A, delta B? 22.
5.93.
It cannot be 20.
5.9 and 2 into 10 power minus 2.5 into 10 power minus.
Okay. So A new B new will be, is it? Okay, 7.5. Okay, so this is old. What is that? Can you fill that out? Can you fill the last column? Okay. So people who are little slow, please look at the steps, and if you are able to understand, you will get a 2 by 2 matrix. You will solve for delta A and delta B. Finally, you will invert this Z transpose T Z, and then get delta A, delta B. A new will be A old 40 plus delta A, B new will be B old plus, okay. So B new is 7.5, is it? Correct. So because it is 2.5 plus 5 into 10 to the power of minus 3, okay. You should be able to get this, it is not such a difficult thing that, alright. Now please work this out. Or at least let us get the theta fit, okay, let us get the, what is the theta fit new? First one, 3.3, 3.27,
20.99, 30.15, 35.9, and 41.3.
41.3. Look at the power of the Gauss-Newton algorithm. When theta was 3.1, the theta fit was 1.95, first iteration, 0th iteration. Immediately in the first iteration from 1.95 it became 3.27, which is close to this. From 7.25 it went to 12.1, the exact value is 11.9. From 13 it went to 21, the exact value is 21. From 20 it went to 30.2, the exact value is 29.9. From 25.3 it went to 35.9, exact is 37.3. From 31 it went to 41, exact value is 42.7. Just one iteration of the Gauss-Newton algorithm. If you do the next iteration, you will get the correct answer. So there will be a significant improvement in the residuals if the problem is well conditioned and all that. Okay. Now is this fine? Now can you work out the theta minus theta fit whole square? Okay, please take it as an exercise. I will close the discussion with just 1 or 2 points. So what are the difficulties with the Gauss-Newton algorithm? Sometimes it is not possible to calculate dou f by dou a and dou f by dou b. It is very difficult to calculate because analytically it will be a very complicated expression. In those cases you will numerically evaluate dou f by dou a and dou f by dou b. You can do numerical differentiation, point 1. Point 2, if the initial case is not chosen properly or if the system is not properly conditioned, the GNA may diverge, may not converge or may converge very slowly. So additional modifications are done. One possibility is to have if you do not have this, that is a Gauss-Newton algorithm, right. Z transpose T Z, you add a lambda into I where I is the identity matrix. So this is a non-negative damping factor. So this is the contribution by Liebenberg. He said that it will condition the matrix properly and it will lead to better results if you do this. Additional improvement was, instead of using the use only the diagonal elements of Z transpose T Z, for all the other elements use 0 0 0, right. This was the modification proposed by Marquardt. Since he borrowed the original idea from Liebenberg that there should be a correction to the Gauss-Newton algorithm, but instead of identity matrix he used the diagonal of Z transpose T Z. This is called as the LMA, the Liebenberg-Marquardt algorithm, which is one of the most powerful and most widely used in regression. It is a very powerful optimization tool. Okay, Liebenberg-Marquardt algorithm. Lambda is a non-negative damping factor. What is the value of lambda to be chosen? That comes only from experience. Does it mean hand waving? I am not explaining properly. No. So what you have to do is you have to start with one value of lambda and find out the results. Start and take lambda by alpha or some other factor. Take a lambda 1 and lambda 2 and see how it progresses. If the convergence is very fast, then you can cool down lambda and lambda can be reduced. If the convergence is very slow, you can put higher values of lambda. Are you getting the point? So if lambda is equal to 0, it is the, if lambda equal to 0, Gauss-Newton algorithm. If the lambda is very high, it approaches the steepest descent or the steepest ascent. Do not get worried, steepest descent and ascent we will discuss when we go to optimization. Okay. So quietly from linear least squares we have come to a stage where I have discussed one of the most powerful optimization algorithms. This can be used for any minimization. We used it for least square minimization, but it can be used for any minimization, right. So now if it is a simple non-linear problem, two parameter problem, it should be possible for you to do in the exam or in life. You should be able to write a program or do hand calculations if it is a few data point and get the values of new values of A and B from old values of A and B till it approaches convergence. Thank you.